Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about Clifford Olson while I do some painting. Clifford Olson spent most of his life in prison. In prison, he met this guy named Gary. Gary had killed a young girl, which I want to say this story is very sad and it involves kids. So if you can't deal with that, please click off. You can't. But Gary told Clifford what he done and wrote it down. Clifford wanted it wrote down for two things. Because he wanted to start doing what Gary was doing, and he wanted to tell the police on Gary, I guess, so he could look good. So that's what he did. He gave it to the police, and Gary got put behind bars for life, which he should. So when Gary gets out, when Clifford gets out, he starts killing. He takes one little boy who was only 9 years old, and he told him that, he was basically looking to find if anybody wanted a job, and this kid was like, sure, but I'll have to ask my mom. So somehow he gets him away from the house. This kid's 9, so it wouldn't be hard to do that. And then he killed the young boy. Then he took one. She was from Germany, but she came here, basically, she come to the United States, basically, I guess, visiting friends, and he told her that he could show her around because she didn't know nothing about the place. So he basically showed her around, and she met some of his work buddies, and then he killed the young woman. And then there was one who, when he took her, she knew that he was going to kill her. She kept telling him, "You're going to kill me," and he would say, "No, no," and she started fighting him because she knew, and he ended up killing her. So he was getting away with this, and he had a family. He had a wife and a kid. So it's just crazy how these people, they have families, and they still go on to kill. But the police were catching on. And one time when he was about to catch somebody, there was an undercover cop that was pretending to be a firefighter and ended up stopping him. So, like I said, at this point, he's on the police's, they know, they think that they've caught the guy. Because everybody was afraid at this point. You know, there's a serial killer, and everybody's just, at this point, afraid. And he's going after young ones. So, he keeps doing what he's been doing. He's taking young people and just, he's got no regards towards life. He's taking them and he just doesn't care. He has no, basically he has no empathy. He's taking them and he dumps their bodies to get rid of them. Normally in different spots, lakes and stuff. He just didn't care. Like I said, this was somebody who just didn't care about people's lives. Then there was one where same thing, he told him that about a job, and he took him, they had some drinks, and he killed him. Normally he would slip something into their drinks, and that's how he would do with a lot of them. He would slip something in their drinks, and he would wait until they fell asleep. That's what he would do most of the time. So this young man, he did the same thing too. So when they were drinking, he slipped something in their drink, and that's what happened. That's how he got him. So the police, like I say, they catch on. They finally get him, and he does the cash for bodies. He wants to know that his wife and son are going to have money, so he does the cash for bodies deal. And I think, from what I've heard, he's the first one that has done that. So basically, in order to tell where the victims are, he tells them he will not talk unless he gets so much money. And the detectives basically say, okay. So the families were not happy about this. I mean, obviously, their children are gone, and his family gets money off of it. So they try to take him, and I guess the detectives, to court, but it ends up, the judge rules it was a deal, and they're not going back on it. So basically, they don't get, the families still don't get nothing, and he basically got a lot of money out of it. So it's just, the story's really sad. And, you know, when it comes to serial killers, you know, it's crazy how they don't feel for others. And I just don't understand that. But, oh, and another thing I was going to say, most serial killers have, bad backgrounds. Clifford, well, he tried to say his parents were, abusive, but a lot of people said no. He come from a normal, happy family. He was never beat. They loved him. He was their oldest. And people say that he was basically their pride and joy. They loved him. But he tells a different story. So, which story is actually real? I don't know. He's told a lot of lies. And so take with that what you will. But he says he had basically just a bad childhood. But like I said, a lot of people say no, he didn't. He basically just maybe probably said that because he felt like, because he knew most have bad families, that maybe people would show more sympathy towards him. I don't really know on that. But like I said, most serial killers do come from broken homes, but not in all cases. Like with Clifford, his home life was good, and he still turned out to be a serial killer. So you can't always go off of the family, because a lot of times, well, most of the times it is how they were raised, because in a lot of cases you do see, but sometimes it's not just that. Sometimes maybe it's them. But I just thought it was an interesting story about him. And the crazy thing is, a lot of times when we hear about serial killers, like I said, you always hear that normally their childhood made them into what they are. So I just thought finding one serial killer who didn't have that was really interesting, because most of the ones that I looked into have had bad situations. But does that give them the excuse? No. But I just thought it was really interesting. And Clifford escaped prison so many times too. Like, a lot of times he escaped, and every time they brought him back, but he escaped a lot. And it's also crazy to think how they try to be normal to people, and they come off is a lot of times you think they're nice and they come off as charming, but then really, I always wonder, like, what their victims see, because really scary. I know with Ted Bundy, one of the victims, who made it, talked about his eyes going black, and it's just scary. And also, we live our lives thinking that can never happen to us, that we won't come across a serial killer, but you don't know. And that's why it's always smart to be careful, to always be aware of your surroundings, and always, don't trust people. And just even if someone comes up to you and asks for help with something, you do have to be careful, because you don't know when something like that can happen. Because I'm pretty sure with all of these, with every victim, they did not know, in a lot of cases, that the one who killed them was crazy. They did not know that until, and a lot of times, it was too late. So that's why I always say, be aware of your surroundings, be careful when you go out, and just don't trust people, because they disguise themselves as normal people and come off as charming, like Ted Bundy. He's a good example. He come off as really charming, but he was a serial killer. And by looking at him, a lot of people just didn't know that. And when he got caught, everybody was shocked. Even there were people who gave him money because they thought he was innocent. And we know he wasn't. So that just goes to show you, like I said, just always be careful, and just know that there are bad people in the world. Now, I will show you this map. Okay. I'm going to show it again. That is that. And thank you guys for watching.